You know, it's been about a year and a half since I did my first review of Mech Assault on the original Xbox, and since that video I've gotten a ton of comments saying, do the sequel, Mech Assault 2 Lone Wolf, do it.
Okay.
Though I've been kind of hesitant to do the sequel because, well, it's an only on Xbox game, yeah, but essentially the game is kind of the same. I didn't want to sound redundant, I didn't want to repeat myself. But after my episode for the Chronicles of Riddick Escape from Butcher Bay, I had you guys vote on which Xbox game you would like me to cover, and of course you picked the one that I really kind of didn't want to do. Alright, here we go. 2004. It was a fantastic time for the original Xbox. So many games were released, great games, classic games. Aside from Halo 2, I think most people though were hyped for Mech Assault 2 Lone Wolf. As I stated in that first video, I can attribute a ton of my best video gaming memories from high school to Mech Assault 1 and 2. And, well, there's just something about giant robots that gets my dick hard, you know?
You know, as a matter of fact, I do.
Once again developed by Day One Studios, Mech Assault 2 is a direct sequel to the first game. The surviving Wolf's Dragoons, Major Nat, Lieutenant Foster, and the Mech Warrior are ordered to go off the grid on a Black Ops mission to the planet Dante to see if they can learn its secrets. Again, I was never really that big of a fan of the first game's single-player campaign, mainly because it was really repetitive, the gameplay was shallow, and it was just short. Though this time around, I would say that the single-player missions have been shaken up, so to speak. There's a bit more variety as far as what you can do in every mission. Spanning roughly 20 levels, Mech Assault 2 has you doing more than blowing shit up. Granted, that's a core element of the game still, but it's something that never got old. Now you'll be able to leave your mech and run around as a completely useless human. But this is something I'll talk about in a minute because, as needless as it sounds, it leads to something awesome. With the inclusion of past mechs from the first game, there's also a good amount of new ones that will tickle your pickle in more ways than one. New vehicles have also been introduced, such as the Battle Armor. This works similar to the Elementals from Mech Assault 1. You're small, you're fast, you can fire projectiles dealing decent amounts of damage despite your stature. We also have tanks in certain missions that are fun to play and easy to control, perfect for grinding up fleshy soldiers into dog food. Something else I really liked was the addition of VTOLs, which you'll be flying in a few missions as well. Hell, anything to break up the redundancy of using a mech for every mission is a plus in my book. And I hate saying that because I fucking love mechs, I always have. But the way that the missions are structured are kind of limited to what you could do in them, so I could see more of casual players enjoying this rather than someone who, I don't know, holds a higher standard to what they want in a mech game. Mission cutscenes in the game still look really good, but there's a very obvious contrast with the cheesy voice acting that they opted to go for.
Workshop defense grid is holding.
I know what you're thinking, Major, but the battle armor isn't ready for this. It could fry him.
No choice. We're using the battle armor.
It's super noticeable while you're playing through the single-player missions, and it's just worth noting. Probably the biggest addition of this game is the ability to mech jack. Going back to the human aspect of this game, with the use of battle armor, jumping and latching onto enemy mechs allows you to hack them. This is done by performing a quick time button combination. If done successfully, the hacked mech will disengage, leaving it vulnerable for you to hop out of your battle armor and take control of it. Though this is featured in the main campaign, the times that you actually do it are few and far between. It's most commonly used in the online multiplayer. Another addition to the story mode that I really like is the use of massive boss fights, and again, these are used sparingly to say the least, which is kind of disappointing, but they are awesome, and if every mission ended with a huge boss battle, I would have been perfectly happy with that. But there's a bonus that doesn't necessarily make up for the lack of boss fights. The songs that play during the fights are done by Korn and Papa Roach. Not my favorite nu metal early 2000s bands by any means. I would have liked to have seen Linkin Park in there, Static X maybe? Yeah. Rest in peace, Chester. But these songs work well and set the atmosphere for the intense explosions and running around back and forth, strafing, shooting missiles, explosions. What I mean to say is it fits really well in the game. Something negative I will say about this game is that although it looks better graphically, it feels slower. I don't know if that was adjusted to add more realistic physics, but compared to the previous game, at least to me personally, it just seems like the mechs slog along. And when the single player maps are fucking huge, it becomes a chore just to move from point A to point B. Overall, MechAssault 2 is not a massive improvement to the original game, in my opinion. The levels leave a lot to be desired as far as graphics. They just don't feel like they're that inspired, and they get really plain and boring looking over time. But there is more variety in the missions and the mechs, which are great, and give the player more options. For a game that has more of a draw to the online portion, a single player campaign almost seems pointless, and I wish they would have focused on more content patches for Xbox Live rather than something that we've already seen before with shiny wrapping paper. Now, as far as the Xbox Live portion of this game, it's awesome. VTOL's being able to drop power-ups to teammates, running around as a little human trying not to get squished, man, it was great. And with the addition of mech jacking, it made for even more intense battles. I can't tell you how many times I raged over getting neurojacked, only to throw my headset on the ground and breaking it, because the original Xbox Live headset was brittle, to say the least. Man, I went through so many of those. There was also a really cool lobby that you could run around in while you were waiting for matches to start as your physical human character, and there was glitches that you could exploit, like getting out of that hub area and running around in space or the off-limits areas of the game that you weren't supposed to be because, well, you were just supposed to be in the hub area. It was just a hub area. It's a hub area. Man, I wish there was a way that I could go back to these days playing MechAssault 1 and 2 online with my buddies. Oh wait, there is. I give you MechAssault Reborn. It's a group that's dedicated to keeping the two games alive through the X-Link Kai online service. They host bi-weekly game nights every other Saturday at 8 p.m. A subscriber of mine by the name of KSI Revelations commented on my first MechAssault video all that time ago, stating that, in fact, people are still playing these games online via this online service. And I had no clue. I thought that was so cool that something that was originally only on Xbox is now being played in 2022 with real people, with fans and people that are dedicated to keeping these games alive. So if you guys want to get in on that, I highly recommend go checking out all of the links in the description to the online service to where you can download it, their Discord server, and their YouTube channel. So please go give them a sub, check them out, tell them the Nerd Lair sent you. And that is MechAssault 2 Lone Wolf for the original Xbox. Again, I didn't really have a whole lot to say about it because it would really just be saying the same things that I said in the first video. It's awesome. It's not my favorite of the two, but it's still a great sequel. And if you're someone like myself who has an Xbox collection and a very fond affinity towards the original Xbox, you have to have these games in your collection. It's a must. They are classic Xbox Live games and just great games overall. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed it, and I hope you did, be sure to leave a like, hit that subscribe button down below, and the bell notification icon lets you know when I go live and when I upload new content, which is usually once a week, but I'm very lazy, so it's kind of meh. Also, be sure to keep your eyes peeled for the next community tab post, which will allow you guys to vote on which game I cover next. Thanks again for tuning in. Be sure to catch me on the next episode when I cover another game that was only on Xbox.